Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Simply Walk the Talk. Today, we have a very exciting show with a lovely guest by the name of Dr. Laura Koniver. Dr. Laura is a holistic physician, grounding advocate, speaker, and author of the book, The Earth Prescription, beloved around the world and translated into multiple languages in foreign editions. Dr. Koniver has been featured in many news and media outlets, writes a regular health column for the national organic lifestyle magazine, Mary Jane's Farm, and is featured as an expert protagonist in several motion pictures, including The Grounded, Heal for Free, Down to Earth, and the Earthing movie. Dr. Koniver, welcome to the show. Welcome to Simply Walk the Talk. Our bodies and minds adapt to what we do most of the time. If you want to change your body and mind, you must change what it is you do most of the time. This podcast explores all things health, wellness, fitness, lifestyle, and biohacking. Stay tuned as we explore various thoughts, methods, and experiences from a multitude of conversations between our interesting guests and experts through many fields of work. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Simply walk the talk. Simply walk the talk.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I've been excited to chat with you for quite some time. I know we had discussed at the end of the year, the end of 2023, and I know that you're very busy and you've got a lot of things going on, right? Yeah. But I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that we're able to chat because in my circles, many people consider me a grounding expert. And then I'm like, no, if you think I'm a grounding expert, wait till you talk to this lady. So I had the great fortune of reading your book, The Earth Prescription. I think it's amazing. You certainly opened up my eyes and my heart to other ways of grounding and understanding it. Mm-hmm. But I think before we dive into all of those things, let's talk about your background and let's talk about how you got to where you are today.
Just start from the beginning.
Yes, please.
I always wanted to be a physician. I knew I was going to do it. And so I went to medical school and I just wanted the secret to keeping everyone healthy. And there was none and there is none. And all they talked about was troubleshooting, putting out, fire hosing, all the bad stuff, which we don't even totally understand anyway. So there's no solution there either so much. So I was very, just discouraged, I think, by the time I got my MD and I started practicing. And then one day I remember this specific young lady I was doing a pelvic exam on, and she just came in for a birth control refill. Should have been just nothing. It should have been nothing, but it changed my entire trajectory because she, it was a 15-minute, that's all the insurance companies give you. You stick a speculum in someone, you give them a prescription, they walk out the door. And I had just become a mom, so it hit different. And I just had a bad feeling, like I was thinking, I did everything right. I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but I just thought, I don't know, I just had this bad feeling like she wasn't safe in her relationship. I don't know why she needed the birth control. I don't know. I just had this feeling like she was in trouble and nothing. And that just was so unhelpful. And it was a chance I could have had to connect with her. I just had this ominous feeling, and I went into the bathroom and threw up. And I just thought, I can't practice medicine this way. Like so I actually took pause from conventional medicine for a while and focused on mothering. And with my own kids, I just realized, like, no matter what happened, if they had colic, if they were nauseous, if they had a scrape, if they couldn't sleep, if we went outside, and especially if I was holding them and I was barefoot, I lived in Arizona at the time, so I was almost always barefoot, even if it's the middle of the night, it was nice and warm. So they instantly were soothed. And I didn't even know what that was because, of course, not one word of that in medical school or, internship or whatever, not one thing. And this might be a little long-winded, but it just started dawning on me like the earth is doing something here. And lo and behold, there was, even by the time, we're talking 25 years ago now for me. I mean, I'm 50 now. I got my doctorate at 25. So 25 years ago, when I just started becoming a new mom and working with in a conventional way, there was still medical literature back then. Now we've got 50 years of studies on grounding. So this is not very new. It's just unmentioned. And so anyway, as I'm standing there with Claire, I'm thinking, that's my daughter. She had colic. And that was the main reason I started looking up alternative ways to like soothe her. And there was medical literature on grounding. And that's what I realized. I didn't know what it was called at the time. Earthing was more popularly used at that time. but there was medical studies showing it decreased inflammation, decreased pain, that kind of thing. So then I started realizing, and I'm going to wrap up with this, I started realizing that this is really stupid, because in medicine, I spent years learning how conductive the body is. I looked at EKGs. I looked at, EEGs of the brain. I looked at EMGs of muscle contractions. We know the whole thing is conductive. And this is kind of to put it into a nutshell, how we approach health in general. We can diagnose disease through conductivity by looking to see if someone had a stroke on an EMG, or looking at their EKG to see if they had a heart attack. Never once did it cross conventional medicine's mind that if I'm monitoring everything by the body and even disease, why am I not using that to boost health? Why is this not a preventative also? Why is this, if my whole body is conductive from head to toe and it functions off that and I can tell what's wrong with it, why am I not looking at what's right with it? And that's when my life changed. And it really started with throwing up in the bathroom and realizing I'm not going to do conventional medicine. And then just taking a time out and spending time on the earth. And then as I went back into medicine, I just thought I'm going to do it in a different way. And I'm going to do it holistic.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Right.
Yes, sorry, it was long.
And no, you don't have to apologize one bit, because, this is what this is for, right? This is the new mainstream media, which is long form content in this form, so that we can talk. Because when someone picks up your book, or picks up my book or whatever, they're going to get like a very specific amount of information. But when we can break it down in this way, I think story is what makes all of this relevant. It makes it all beautiful. And what I find interesting about your story, because I did not know this, but the fact that you had that certain feeling when you were working with that client, that patient, and then you went and you threw up, it kind of takes me back to this full circle moment of your social media name, which is Intuition Physician. So in that moment, you had that intuition. There was something that was nagging at you that was like, this is not right. And what a beautiful story, because a lot of people, when I speak to people about grounding or earthing, they think it's just woo woo. But we have a bona fide doctor here who has completely changed the trajectory of what she does or did to now focusing on this. Right. So I would love to sort of take a couple steps back. I know we went through your backstory a bit, but I would like to allow people to have an understanding of what exactly is grounding or earthing. You touched on it a little bit, but for those who don't know what it is or what it can do, obviously they can go and get your book. But can you break it down in a way that the layperson can understand?
Yeah. And you're so right. Most people just think it's centering your awareness in your, you know what I mean? It's a woo-woo topic, or grounding is considered just centering your awareness.
Esoteric.
Right. And there's nothing, that's awesome. Do it. But when I'm talking about as a medical therapy. I am literally talking about touching the earth outside. The earth has an electromagnetic grid, and it pulses with DC energy, as does everything in the natural universe. This is well before we discovered electricity and did the whole AC, current. I'm talking about the DC natural energy of the entire Earth and universe as we know it. Our bodies run off that same energy. We're DC. We're putting out, when I look at an EKG, I'm looking at the DC energy of my body. I'm never looking at, the fake electrical man-made. I'm looking at the DC current of a brain or a muscular contraction or whatever else is going on. So this beautiful DC energy, that's all we're talking about. The earth has it. We have it. Plants have it. Animals have it. Every part, even inert things have this energy running through it. So all we have to do is touch it's like plugging in a wire or a cord. It's just conductivity requires connection. So touching the surface of the earth outside, that's a DC energy grid, touching there's not one thing in your body that's not conductive. There's not one thing in your body that's not grounded or resonating with this DC energy and isn't grounded the minute you touch the earth. And I don't think it could possibly be beyond coincidence that the entire earth runs off the same energy that our health runs off of. And if you think that's a coincidence, then I don't know how to help you. But the earth is a battery. That's what I would think of it as. And I'm just simply talking about touching it, because when you make contact, it's measurable with a grounding test meter, and it's measurable in medical studies and double-blind placebo studies. So it's not, again, this woo-woo. We're talking about double-blinded medical studies looking at when the body is connected to the earth electrically and when it's disconnected. Huge changes in every organ system.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned the whole battery idea. And for those who don't know, the DC is for direct current and AC is alternating current. And this is, I guess it's commonly known in the worlds of batteries, right? And so I had a podcast yesterday that we recorded. We haven't posted it yet, but I was speaking to the gentleman about the idea that when I explain grounding or the electrical potential of the human body to someone, I talk about how all of our cells are like capacitors. And then I kind of liken that to a cell phone. So we understand that when the power of the cell phone goes down, it goes into low power mode, so it doesn't work as efficiently. And then eventually, if you don't charge it, it dies, and then you can't use it until you do what? Till you recharge it. And that's what I like to use that analogy. It may not be correct,
no, it's
totally,
good.
but that's an analogy I think most people can understand.
Yeah.
And so
it's
it's
a
like,
man-made version, because you're talking about the ace energy, but that is the man-made version. And you're right. No one would take an expensive iPhone or whatever, use it one time, watch the battery go down, and then toss it in the garbage. Like, who would do that? Right. But that's what we're doing with our bodies. We come out fully charged, and we just watch the inflammation and the pain build up, and we just, diseases of aging, and then we just kind of feel done. And if we're not doing the DC recharge, you're exactly right.
So then, and I'm going to ask you some of these questions, kind of like leading questions, because I do understand a lot of this, and I've fortunately been able to read your book, and so I learned even more about this. But let's talk about like exactly why it's important to do that. So I guess to maybe even lead you a little bit more, what happens to the body when we have inflammation, whether it be systemic inflammation or acute inflammation? What's happening, and then how and where does grounding come in?
That's an interesting way to put it. I've never been asked that before. That's awesome. I mean, it's so broad. I don't know that we even really know the full extent of what inflammation does to the body, but it just, over time, wear and tear, it causes free radical damage. We stop repairing our DNA as well. We can get into epigenetics. I mean, even how your proteins are expressed, or, the integrity of the cell membrane, or your gut. I mean, it's literally your whole body from head to toe is conductive. Right. So all of it starts breaking down. And what we do know is within not just seconds, but milliseconds of touching the earth, our body shifts back into a healing mode. And there are studies showing short-term instant results to our most electrically active. So you can imagine that's our brain immediately on an EEG within milliseconds shifts into healing brainwave patterns. Our heart, we get our vagal tone boost. And so our heart goes from the fight or flight. Like, you can be in the middle of a panic attack and touch the earth and feel it shift into that parasympathetic, calm, rest and digest. Our muscles, immediately within seconds, we can look on an EMG and see that the muscle tension. So if you're about to get a tension headache and you go touch the earth, literally physically makes a difference in the tension of your muscles. That's instant. So those are just instant things that change because of this. Just, you think of those electrically active parts of our human body. But I mean, we can go on and on and on about long term, if you ground for hours and you ground for days and you ground for years. There's cumulative benefits. Yeah,
and I'm happy to be corrected at any point, because I know you're beyond the expert that I am in this. But some of the ways that I explain this, again, to just because I understand sort of the fact that this show is called Simply Walk the Talk. My goal is to try to break things down in a way that everyone can understand. Yeah. And so please correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I talk about when it comes to inflammation or disease, dis-ease in the body, usually that correlates to more of a positive charge, but in the negative sense, right? Mm-hmm. So usually that means that there's more protons and not enough electrons so that the cells aren't balanced. Mm-hmm. And then why the grounding works, again, this is my theory, is that we're getting these free electrons, this negative charge that comes into the body almost instantaneously. And so when the free radicals are bouncing around because they're looking for electrons, when we get that from the earth, then we get into a state of more ease, right? So not dis-ease, we get into a state of more ease, more balance. And so when I explain that to people, then they're like, okay. So if we have systemic inflammation, then we're probably more positively charged than we need to be. And so adding in this negative charge helps to balance things out a little bit. And that's kind of how I explain it, but happy to be wrong.
No, I think that's a great, I think that's probable, and also a really nice way to break it down. For me as a physician, we haven't ever, I look at evidence-based medicine, so I am more interested. I don't think we really 100% know the exact avenue of how it works so much. And physicists would say something similar to you. However, have we followed one electron in and seen what it does in the, no. So I look at over time, the results. I don't 100% feel comfortable saying like for sure that's how it works, because there could be magnetic, there could be scalar water, there could be, I mean, there's so many, 5, 6, 7 cents, like we just don't even know how to, and if you don't have a microscope, you can't look at a cell. So if you don't have a way to even measure what's necessarily going on, I don't want to commit to exactly how it's working. Although I do think that's a really good model for just understanding we need to neutralize our body. So absolutely, free radicals are charged. We neutralize with the earth and we feel that relief. But do I think it's more complicated than that? Oh, I do. I think there's a lot going on with the body that we don't even know what to measure. So what I stick to just as a physician is, here's what I can predict your body's response is going to be. Here's what I know through double-blinded studies and through practicing this for decades now. Here's what you're going to feel. And I'm comfortable with that in medicine because I hate to say it, but on the conventional side, we don't know most of why anything is working. We don't even know why some drugs work. I mean, we literally throw an antidepressant on someone and we don't honestly know how it works.
Touche.
We're just, it happens all the time. So I don't know that I need to have the explanation of how it works, but I can tell you in a double-blinded study where nobody knows if the cord is grounded or sham grounded, consistent results. I know this is what helps our body. So I don't know through evolution or whatever, however we even are here, why our body is made to be yin and yang with the earth and why it functions to be more healthy connected to it, but I know it does for a fact.
And I can so appreciate that. So thank you for that clarity, because it is important. And that's the reason why I have you here, right? To be able to kind of sift through some of these things. And another thing that I think would be important to discuss, and you touched on it a little bit, is the difference in time, right? Because some people will drive themselves crazy thinking that they have to get outside and they have to put their feet on the sand or on the ground. And I know that you have a lot of solutions for that. So let's touch on that. Yeah. And then also the length of time, right? Yeah. So please enlighten us. Because that is the two main things that are really important to get across. I agree. Because first of all, people think it has to be a long period of time, so they're not going to do it. Because I don't have 30 minutes that I don't know what to do with, that I'm just, so you have to be able to think that if I'm standing, waiting to cross a street corner and I touch the metal crosswalk, I tested multiple of these in inner city place, urban areas, and they're all grounded because it's metal that's anchored to the sidewalk and into the earth. So if I touch that pole while I wait for that sign to tell me to cross the street, I'm grounded for those 3 seconds. My muscles have already decreased. My brain went into an alpha brainwave pattern and my heart rate started calming down. 3 seconds, not even, milliseconds is what it really takes. And then a little bit longer, if I can just go get the mail and hold onto a leaf on a tree and take 3 deep breaths, well, that's even longer. So now I'm having cumulative benefits. So yes, length of time, there is no time too short. There is no time. A millisecond would make a difference to your health. Sure, longer is better, but let's start with a millisecond. So nobody can say they can't find time. And then the second thing you touched on already, which we can go into more detail about, is a lot of people think it has to be through their feet. And that's the whole point of grounding, is that every cell in your body is conductive. Dead cells, not so much. So hair and dry skin will provide resistance, but any living cell in your body, the plasma in your blood, the cellular fluid inside your cell, it's all an electrolytic solution. Your cerebrospinal fluid that your brain is in, everything is just an electrolytic solution waiting. And in not even 2 seconds, milliseconds of touching something, it's like flipping a light switch on. Your entire body's grounded. It takes milliseconds. And then that means, therefore, that any part of your body touching anything conductive outside is grounded. So it's not feet. Boom. Like I almost never ground through my feet, ever. I'm always using my hands because, I don't want to wash my feet. I don't want to put socks back on. I'm so sorry, but no, I'm thinking hands. And even if you don't want direct skin contact, now we've got conductive gloves, and we've got, just so many ways that you don't even have to make direct contact, but you want it could be a cheek resting against a tree. It really could be just one tiny little part of your body. Your entire conductive skin coating your body can ground you just as well as your feet. That's powerful. And thank you for sharing that, because I think this is a part of the show. If you're listening and watching, definitely rewind back a few seconds and listen to what Laura said. It's only the smallest part of your body for the smallest amount of time. You're going to get an effect, right?
1 cell in 1 millisecond.
That's that. And so that should open up this idea of oh, okay. All right, now this is a new way of thinking. Maybe I can get the benefit of grounding, and then you can start to explore and get creative, which is what I love about your book. And also following you on social media, I love the fact that you put out a lot of content to give examples of ways to ground, right? Because again, back to my weird analogies, I always explain to people in modern day homes, and I have to stress modern day homes, after the foundation is built, the next thing that's done is it has to be grounded. Otherwise, the workers cannot build. Because if they do, then at any point, something could flip, could blow up, right? And so every modern day home is grounded. And I actually posted a video of my doing, well, I was in a home in Budapest, which is where my kids live. And the home that we were staying in for a while is very old, did not have proper grounding because I used the grounding testers. And so I had to use a grounding stake, which is, and I showed how I did that and whatever,
That's great.
which is really, really awesome. But it's like, you can either do that and go to that extent of getting a grounding stake and connecting it to different devices in the home. Or like you said, you can just go outside for a moment, hold a tree, hold a pole, because even I think you something that you enlightened me on recently is even just sitting in a pool nowadays, we know that it's grounded because of the tank, right?
Well, that's the thing that is so funny. And I almost brought this up when we were originally talking about like charging the cell phone and stuff like that. It's so ridiculous, but we have codes that require like our water tank to be grounded because we have building codes that protect the health of electronics that are more intense than anything we do to protect the human body's health. Like we have mandatory building codes where your water tank has to be grounded. So when I'm washing the dishes or I'm even just washing my hands, do you notice you feel a little bit better after washing your hands? Because you're grounded the whole time your hand is under that stream of water. If you're in an office building and there's a water fountain and you just put a fingertip under the water fountain, that continuous stream is grounded as if you're outside in the beach on the ocean because it just takes one cell. So, but it's just so funny to me, so ironic, because why are we protecting there? That's to make sure that our refrigerator and our dryer and all these appliances we have that have the 3 prongs that are grounded, because like you said, to code, the building has to be grounded, and it's to protect the water heater or the refrigerator from exploding. But the human body needs that same grounding, but we have zero awareness of that so far. It's funny.
Well, we're here to bring awareness, right? One of the things that I think people, I don't mind being called crazy because I find it all fascinating. But a lot of times when I travel, like in an airplane, I like to wear conductive socks, and then I take off my shoes and I put my conductive socks on the metal of the seat in front of me. And I did some testing to make sure that works and this and that. I mean, I used to travel with the like the grounding mats and things like that. But to your point, I think I read in your book, if you want to be farthest away from all the like plastics and the vinyls and the things like that, then, you want to try to find another solution. So that's why I started doing that. And it's just another solution, right? Like holding the sink while you're, washing your hand, while you're waiting for your coffee to brew or whatever. There's so many ways that we can find the benefits of grounding. So thank you for sharing all of that. I think it's amazing. Okay. Let's talk about maybe some other ideas or I guess maybe we can call them testimonials, because you have a lot in the book. You have a lot of examples of how this might work. And so instead of just saying to the average person, just do it, you're going to feel better. Can you maybe provide some examples of exactly what's happening with some of your clients or yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want specific patient examples of how people have felt better, or like their techniques to give ideas?
Both. But I think I'm more interested in the testimonials, right? Okay. Like someone who maybe had something and then 3 months later they're better.
Yeah, gotcha. So one thing I can go into some detail about is I am pretty convinced that the earth is our battery, like we've talked about. And so it has a huge impact on our metabolism. So there had not been any studies looking at grounding and weight loss and metabolic boost. And so I ran an informal study with 12 patients, and all they had to do was ground for 15 minutes a day outside. No change to their food, no change in their exercise, no change in their activity levels, no change in sleep, like literally nothing. 15 minutes. That's all I wanted to go with. And there was so many, testimonials I could draw from. There was someone who was enrolled in there that was going to get carpal tunnel surgery because they had just chronic wrist pain. And by the end, we only did it for 12 weeks. By the end of the 12 weeks, they canceled their surgery. They literally didn't have carpal tunnel pain anymore. And then the average weight loss with no other change was 1 pound a week. And some people lost, 5 pounds and some people lost 20 pounds, but the average would be about a pound a week with doing literally nothing else, just having this metabolic boost because your body is running more efficiently because you're grounded. And that's for 15 minutes. Now, if there was a pharmaceutical pill that I could say you could take and that you would lose a pound a week with doing no change to your lifestyle at all, I mean, you'd be a multi-billionaire, right? So, but there's literally the earth outside and it's free. So anyway,
which is why it's not patentable, which is probably why we're not going to hear people talking about it.
But there's so many patients I'm thinking about from that. So one, we had a baseline C-reactive protein, which you probably know is a measure of inflammation in the body. But so for your listeners, it shows the chronic level of inflammation in your body. And at the end of those, just 12 weeks, it had significantly dropped like 30%, doing no other changes at all. So,
Wow.
And I would say insomnia is something that I see a lot. Pain is probably the number one. Pain's the number one reason that people seek even going to conventional medicine at all. So that's probably the biggest transformation I see. Almost everyone has something that they notice, tweaks about their body that they didn't even realize, oh my gosh, my knee pain's gone. But the second one I would say is insomnia. It really helps with sleep and quality of sleep. Even if you don't sleep longer, you wake up feeling better. The third most common thing that we see with patients is mood. Better improved mood and more stable affect. And then lastly would be mood, sleep, pain. Yeah, I would say those are the top 3 things.
And so I know one of the discussions you and I had was we were talking about the measuring. So there's 2 points to this question, but one, I want to talk about your device that you use to your tester device, which I like because it's different than all the other testers out there, because all the other testers out there have just yes or no, basically, right? It's just like it's either grounded or not, right? Or getting a charge or not. But yours has like 3 levels to it, which I like, and it also has an audio component to it, which is I think it's actually kind of cool, especially for like content.
But yes.
Right? Yeah, I mean, well, you provide a solution by saying you can put tape over it or whatever, but I actually like it. I think it works really well because it makes people go, what is that, right? Like it's almost like an emergency sound. What is that? But the part 2 to that is the fact that you were talking about, because we were discussing if the device that I got from you, if it was working well or not, and you were surprised at the fact that like I was getting the best signal out of it. And I did the second one, the other one you sent me, and it was the same thing, right? And I thought it was interesting because you said, okay, well, you know, it could be that you're well hydrated, your skin is moisturized, but I also think it's because I've been grounding for years, right?
No, I can tell immediately, because what he's talking about is on this ground tester, you can test and it will show you if there's no resistance on the line. So you're like the earth, basically. If there's a little bit of resistance, but you're completely grounded from head to toe, it's in the middle zone, which is what most people get because that's normal. You have a little dry skin, you're a little dehydrated, your mineral balance, because for conductivity, we need electrolytes and we need moisture. So a lot of people are deficient in both of those. And then you can be ungrounded, which means you have so much resistance that you're basically disconnected from the earth. And I almost never get people saying, I always get the most, like, no, I have no resistance. I'm like, I can tell you must be incredibly healthy because those people, I have to be like, go exfoliate, but you're like that, you'll get that easy. Most people have to be like submerged in the ground basically to test like they are the earth. And so, I would say you're very easily grounded and well grounded. Yeah.
Do you happen to have one of those testers nearby? I mean, I have one, or maybe Gordon, if you can pull it up on the website so people can see, because mine is over there. I don't want to step away from the computer, but it's just like this little box. You put a battery in it, a battery for the battery, right? Yeah. So you put a battery in it, and then also I think it comes with a tester, right, to make sure that the source that you're using, if you're not using the ground, right, the source that you're using is properly grounded. And then from there you put your finger on this square little button, and when you push that button down, that means that's the small bit of the body that is conductive, right? So you put your hand on that, and then you touch anything else that you want to see that is grounded. And it was so interesting because there it is. So what I was doing is I was walking around the entire apartment. I was outside. I was trying to test everything.
Yeah, because there's so many surprising surfaces. Like my garage is grounded. So in the winter, I'm kind of a wimp with the cold, but I'll go in the garage. I have a little space heater. I have a little chair. I'll bring a book. I'll multitask and get work done on my computer and have my feet on the cement slab and be grounded. I mean, you can go through and test indoors and outdoors, so many different surfaces that'll ground you, as well as testing your indoor grounding tools to make sure that they're grounding you. What I will say about that tester that is good is, all other testers that I'm aware of, they will only test the cord in one direction. So do you want to get into like, if we're so conductive and we're so affected by the Earth's positive healing energy, basically polar opposite of that is the man-made EMFs that we've created in this world. So that also affects our health, but in a negative way. So we don't necessarily have to go into that in this podcast. That can be quite toxic, and we're all electrosensitive to some extent. But because of that, I've created a pure ground cord, which will not allow the AC electricity, in case you're using an indoor outlet, to travel up the cord. So every other tester on the planet is not universal. They'll only test the standard cord that has this AC current coming up. But I have the pure ground cord that has a filter that will not let the AC current coming up. Only the DC energy from the Earth comes up. And my tester is the only one that will work with that. So mine is really the only universal tester, because it'll test anything outside, anything inside, and any kind of cord you use, whether it's the pure ground cord or the standard cord. So that's why I call it the universal grounding tester. So I just wanted to highlight that, because there are other testers, but they're not universal.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is so important. And that is honestly one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk with you today. And it's interesting. Sure,
because it's like two whole camps, like grounding and then electrosensitivity. But it's actually what I want to start, but I don't know how do you start a branch of medicine, but I want to start conductive health. What the hell? We know our entire body is conductive. Why are we not looking at conductive health on every aspect? I don't know.
Yeah, no, well said, because it's like, again, because I've been doing this for so long, it was easy. I was the guy that always have this little, it's almost like a health kit, which is a grounding kit, right? Yeah. And I mean, my entire bed, so the sheets, the pillowcases, everything, is set up for grounding. If I'm sitting in the front room watching TV or doing whatever, I'm always connected to a body band or something. But I would always have this kind of like party trick. Like I would take the little tester, and then it's either green light comes on or it doesn't, right? And it wasn't until I started diving into your research that I thought, oh, wait a minute, not all ground connections are healthy for everybody, right? For the people who are not, or people who are very sensitive, they're getting more than just a grounding connection. They're also getting that AC, right? That negative EMF. There it is. There's a universal grounding test meter. Thank you, Gordon. So there you see it says high, okay, and low. So the high would be high resistance. Right. Okay would be normal or medium resistance. And then the low would be no resistance or low resistance.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Yes. And so you want to be in that low. It's okay if you're in the okay range, but you want to be in that low range. And there's ways to do that. And this is the thing I was talking about, where you just put your finger on it, and then you touch something else, right? Because you complete the circuit when you have your finger on the what do you call that little square? It's like a little conductive metal square. The button? And, the little button. The button. Thank you. The button, of course, much easier. So, if you're like me and you like to geek out on these things, then do me a favor. And we'll provide links in the description, but go to intuitionphysician.com, right? Yes. And we'll link to that, and get yourself this setup and become your own little biohacker, right? Yeah. And it's like, I also have the water heater bottle from you. Oh, yeah.
Why are we not doing this in health? I have like an ice pack that you can ground, like it's just a first aid kit. Yeah. Why are we not grounding everything to add that healing modality exponentially onto your body? And also, I wanted to say what I was thinking of when you were so cute and talking about the button, and then how it only takes that small square inch, not even an inch of your thumb, to prove your entire body is conductive. And you really are proving it, because if you're touching a grounded surface with this hand and a button with this hand, what I'm proving and you can see the time lapse when I remove my hand, that light changes. That's how quick it takes for your entire body to become grounded, because I'm not testing this piece of skin to this piece of skin. I'm testing this piece of skin through my entire body to what I'm testing over here. So you see how instantaneous it is when you're testing something that's grounded. That's what I'm saying. Your whole body is a light switch. It turns grounded.
Absolutely. And Gordon right now is showing the video of from your site of the test meter. And so you can
that's
see
how quick. That's how quick your entire body becomes grounded. So it's milliseconds.
Yeah. And I don't know if you have the audio on that, but
Oh no, yeah, we don't want.
it's like, right?
Yeah, I've gotten a
Yeah.
little hate on social media for how piercing that is.
Oh, the haters can walk.
Yeah.
Anyway, the haters need to ground themselves.
Yeah. They're too worked up, too inflamed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like I love. First of all, I love your energy. So you're obviously very grounded as well. And I would love to continue discussing more of what you want to do, because I think together, like not just you and I, but like as a community, we can bring more awareness. In fact, are you familiar with the company Vivo Barefoot?
Yes. Have their shoes.
Okay. So great, because I've been working with Vivo Barefoot since like 2009. One of the original Vivo Barefoot coaches, and so I talk a lot about like barefoot, like whole body barefoot, basically, but like barefoot health, barefoot running, and exercise, and all these things. And for a long time, I had hoped that somehow my love for barefoot and my love for grounding would come together, and it is. It finally is here. So, this is a sort of first time I've even talked about this, but I'm right now in the midst of helping them to test their grounding shoe.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and I've been using your tester to prove whether it works or not. And so, maybe we can discuss some things offline, but I would love to work with you on that, because I know that you have a lot of experience and you have a huge community of people who are interested in grounding. And if we can make it a little bit easier to stay grounded for a lot longer, then why not? Yeah. So exactly. So be on the lookout for that.
Yes.
It's coming.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that you find that maybe you get a lot of questions about that you would like to kind of debunk, so to speak? Or is there anything else that really that you get asked a lot that you want to maybe shed some light on today's podcast?
Well, the two things I get asked the most is, how do you fit it in? And so you fit it in by just multitasking, because when it becomes something that's like putting your seatbelt on, you don't say, well, I'm not going to drive today because I don't want to take that second to put my seatbelt on. You're just driving under the conditions of having your seatbelt on. So when you're doing anything, when you're literally, if you have to do physical therapy stretches, if you do yoga, if you do meditation, if you're just deleting emails off your phone, why are you not doing it grounded? Like, just think of a way to do it grounded, either indoors or outdoors. So just pick something you do every day that you will now do grounded, and then that's done. That's it. And there's just millions of ideas on my website and in my book if you want ways to multitask. And then the other thing that I get asked a lot, I just forgot.
It happens.
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, a lot of people are concerned, as they should be, about this man-made electricity, right? And electrical forces. And I just want to typically I'll go into how bad that is. But on this podcast, since we're focusing on grounding, I also want to say something reassuring, because I do say this literally every day to literally every person that I see, and also to a million emails a day. All of the grounding studies we have for over 50 years now are in environments like hospitals. Like, for example, I can tell you about a NICU study where it's infants that were just born prematurely. So they're in the NICU, in the neonatal intensive care unit in Pennsylvania, and they have to be in an incubator because they can't monitor their own body temperature. They can't eat. They are not, you have to monitor their breathing, everything. They're not fully formed yet. They were born prematurely. So they're in the NICU. Those babies don't know if they're grounded or not. So this is the perfect sham versus, double-blind placebo-based study. But obviously, that they're in a heated incubator with a power strip, and they're the most premature, defenseless form of human being that we can have. So even under those conditions, their survivability markers, their vagal tone, their heart rate variability, all got a boost. They were all healthier, even in an incubator with power strips and EKG leads and all these other things. They were healthier if they were on a grounding mat, and they had better predictive indicators of positive outcome. So that's what I go back to I wanted just to say that, since we did mention about electrosensitivity, we're inundated with a lot of toxic electrical smog, but at the same time, please know that I would not think that should stop someone from grounding. If you get a headache and you're electrosensitive and you have, other things going on, we can work on that as well. But your body's still in a healing state. I can say that with confidence. Even if you are in an electro-dense urban area, in an incubator with a power cord next to your little baby brain, it's healthier to be grounded. So that's something I say constantly and constantly and constantly. Every study on my website, I think Gordon brought up that medical studies that I keep a running list of. all of them are in hospitals, rehab, urban situations, apartment buildings. People are at home doing real life. They're not in the middle of the forest with no cell phones and no, they're all showing positive results. The body goes into a healing state. So, yeah, I didn't mean to go on a rant about that, but I want to reassure people about grounding in an urban setting still shows a positive healing effect for your entire body from head to toe.
Yes. One of the other things I wanted to point out, and I'll quickly just mention this because I thought it was really cool. When it comes to just being creative and thinking about ways to utilize grounding beyond just our healing, which is very important, right? But our own healing, we can also ground through our pets. Mm-hmm. Which is really cool. So I know you talk about that in the book, which is really awesome because what a way to really connect with our animals. And also we all benefit from that, right?
Yeah. It's just like touching a tree, the top leaf on a tree. You could be 3 stories off the ground and you touch a leaf and you're grounded. So it's the same thing. You can form a chain of human beings that are holding hands. One person is grounded. 20 people later just holding hands. That person is also grounded. That's how conductive we are. Yeah.
I did that study. Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I shouldn't say study, but I did that. I had a few people here at my place. They're from Germany, a group of flight attendants, and I think I had just gotten your tool, your test meter, and so obviously I'm geeking out. I had all these things, and they're like, "What is this? What is that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's grounding." And you had just talked to me about like my level of conductivity.
Yes.
And so I was like, "Well, look, if I put it on me, it goes to this, but let's try it on you." And then I tried it on one of the ladies, and she was grounded, but it was only like in the middle.
Okay.
I tried it on another one. Yeah. And then we got to the end, and I think it was five people. So we got to the end, and I had them drinking some like electrolyte water and salts and things like that.
Yeah.
And by the time we finished, I was able to get all of them grounded. And we did it basically from the beginning. And I tested the person on the end. And their minds were blown because they're like, what?
Yeah, that's how conductive we are. Our body's just like waiting for this, like dying for this, literally. So yeah that's awesome. And what an interesting party you ran.
Oh, hey, if you
attendants, that's a joke somewhere.
This place is a lab. But speaking of that, and this might be a discussion we have like offline sometime, but if your schedule allows, especially with some of the things that I'm working on, I think it would be cool for us to do some kind of like retreat or seminar or something together because, it's like, obviously we're talking about this for a reason because not a lot of people know about it. And then the more that we connect with others, the more people become aware about it. And then it'll become more mainstream. Yeah. Because I would love to see more grounding products out there. Right?
Josh, what I want you to do is open up, here, I'll be the medical director for it. And you open up in every city, healing center where, how you can go get massage for an hour or whatever. Why can't we have places where people come in for their little grounding lunch break and they're eating while they're grounded or they have grounding services? Even if it's 15 minutes, it'd make a difference in their day. They're starting to get a migraine, so they're going to go head over there to that healing center. We should have grounding. If grounding became part of our consciousness and intentionality, our yards would not be filled with just grass. We would have, pesticides would be gone. The oceans would be happier. All of the animals on Earth would be happier. We would have like edible landscaping. Our parks would be very, very inviting for barefoot. There would be grounding centers all over. Like it would literally change everything from, I think, how we grow our food to how we live our lives outdoor. We'd be friendlier to our neighbors because we'd be living outside and outdoor. Our living room setups would be maybe more outdoors. Our kitchens would be more in outdoor vibes. I just feel like their community would get better. The earth would get better. The crap that we put onto and into the earth would be cleaned up. And we would just be more aware that this conductivity was essential to not only the environment, but like our literal health, our internal environment.
Well said. And I'll just say one more thing before I ask you these last couple of questions, because I know we're getting short on time. Okay. But one other thing, so along the lines of the grounding through our pets being such a beautiful thing, you touched on several times about being able to grab a leaf, and and a lot of that discussion was about being outside. But how about grounding your plants indoors and then grabbing those leaves or those stems or those roots? And so you can do that by just taking a stake, a grounding stake from the outside into your home, or if you live in a high rise or whatever, you can ground it into the plug, right? And make sure it's tested, make sure it's good, and then put that into the plant. And then you'll see that the plant is much healthier. And then if you connect to it, then you're much healthier.
That's exactly right. You can put it like a little metal tent stake that you can get online and then clip a grounding cord to that and ground it either way, like you said. You could ground a bin. If you like the idea of barefoot, you could grow grass on a little plastic indoor tray and ground that, or ground any house plant that you have, so that, while you're talking on the phone, you're touching the plant. And you're exactly right. And I'm always like, when you start thinking about grounding, your mind is like, why aren't we doing this? Like, we have studies on plants showing that plants grow taller and they bloom more, and then the blooms last longer. So just think about like the hospitality industry. When you go into the next hotel and you see this like flower arrangement that's going to last 3 days that they spent $2,000. I mean, like, why are we not grounding our vases? Why is everything not grounded?
How about the cannabis industry?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So if in the original movie, The Grounded, and I think also in Heal for Free, that's part of the plant studies, is an ungrounded cannabis plant and grounded cannabis plant. And oh my gosh, it's just a night and day.
Big difference. Night and day.
1,000%. Yeah.
Big difference. So anyway.
Well, so for plants, we see that response, and it's very visually dramatic. But with human beings, we're not going to grow. I mean, a lot of that's, just predetermined in our DNA how tall we're going to get. So we're not going to get 4 times taller, but we are going to get 4 times more healthy and with more energy. And I believe, being, with my intuitive, 4 times more creative, more connected, more engaged, more aware of our emotions. I just feel like everything can benefit, because again, like a plant, you can see it very, very obvious. With a human being, it's in how our energy literally moves through our body.
So I just see Gordon just put in the chat here. He said, and I don't know if we have time to discuss it, but I love his brain. I love how his mind works. So he said, what are thoughts on Tesla, the electric showers?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Gordon, pipe in. Let's see if he comes up.
I was just curious, because you guys are discussing using electricity as a form of health medicine, essentially. And I really like this idea of conductive medicine and the train of thought you guys are doing. But Tesla, and I don't know all the specifics, and he was working with some early, the difference between DC and AC. Maybe you can speak to that, if that affects.
Yeah, we're talking about the Tesla car. Got it.
I don't know what you're talking about with I don't think I know all of that.
Yeah, so he would create these Tesla coils in his laboratories, and then he would essentially utilize himself as an extension of them and do these type of Tesla showers, I believe was a term, where he kind of just would take a bath of electricity and had, he really attested to it. And, I'll leave it here, said the whole understanding of the secret to the universe were through understanding electricity and frequency and vibration and these kind of things. So I know we're getting near the end of here, but I think this in of itself, I would love to have you back on, and there's a lot we could dive into. What is the cutting edge science and where you see it heading? Because I'm with you on that.
Yeah. I think the medicine, you're right. I think since as a physician, the medical equivalent of what you're talking, and I love it that you're talking more from like a physics point of view and how that physicist saw it impact health. The medical translation of that is there's a phenomenal book called Healing is Voltage. And this guy, literally, you read that? When we look at grounding as a positive thing, instead of we look at the human electricity as a negative, like I said, diagnosing disease and looking for stroke and looking for heart attack. Let's look for the positives. Let's look for the regeneration. Let's look for the health and the healing. And that's what we're just on the cusp of.
Yes. And the body electric is another really good one too, by the way.
That is so good.
Okay. So I want to be respectful of your time. And I absolutely, if you're open to it at some point, I would love to have you back, because this has been so fascinating for me. I hope it is for the audience as well. I like to ask 2 questions at the end of the show. First question is, you don't have to give me 2, but what is a pet peeve of yours? What is something that just kind of gets under your skin? And it can be about anything.
Okay. This is so specific and weird. One of the grossest things to me is... Do you hate this? Smelling someone else's sneeze. Like when you go into an elevator and you're like, ew, I don't know. I don't want to smell your sneeze. I hate it. Oh, and the other pet peeve I have is, and here, this is a Josh Holland exclusive, because I don't think I've ever said this in any interview, but I have a weird anatomy quirk that I have 3 kidneys. So I pee so much. So my other pet peeve is I have to pee every 10 minutes. Like literally, I pee so much. So there you go. I know, right? Are you proud of me?
I'm very proud of you. And I have never heard that. And that's amazing.
Road trips are hell. It's literally at every exit.
Wow. Okay. You've enlightened me and I've got more homework to do. I've never heard of that, but that's very interesting. Okay. And then the last one is, what is something you're most grateful for?
So obviously, like, this is the most generic answer, but you're a parent, like just being a mom, just having healthy kids. And they're like, I guess I'm extra grateful as the years go on because my kids are in their 20s now. One graduated college, one's still in college. And I'm just the fact, like, when they're little, you can't take for granted that they're even going to reach that. And it's just, I'm just so grateful. I got two healthy adults, really, actually. So anyway, that's what it is. It's generic.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You are a wonderful person. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your expertise and just coming onto the show. If you could just rattle off a few ways for people to follow what you're doing. I know we talked about your TikTok and we'll link everything in the description, but for those who are listening now.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is probably intuitionphysician.com. And I would sign up for my newsletter. I will not, and I just do one newsletter a week, but it's always something positive, something uplifting, just some healing tip, a lot of times about grounding. So that's the best way to stay connected. But I do have social media that you can go to there and, blog posts and I'm constantly updating it with the next grounding study, the next grounding study, the next grounding study. So if you want to be updated on grounding studies, it's a good resource too. And it's a lot of free resources on there.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, this is Josh signing out from Simply Walk the Talk. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following. And if you found this to be helpful in any way, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, all of that fun jazz. And make sure and follow Dr. Laura Koniver.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. That's great.
Thank you.
Simply walk the talk. Walk the talk, talking facts. Move like me, but I move a little fast. Make my move, here to last. Fasten these seatbelts, I'm coming past. Take care of me, longevity. Hack my biology, better believe. Walking the talk, soul, mind, and body connected. Better come give us a listen.